I say welcome back guys into my video, and today's topic is how to journal. You have to understand that with journaling, I've been journaling for the past 2 years and it's been an amazing journey because why? I've been talking about my story each and every single day. I've been overcoming each and every single day of my life for the past 2 years with a journal. What have I been doing in my journal to make sure that I can succeed more today than ever? I mean, writing is an excellent form of communicating, and it's also an excellent form of bettering your mindset to become a better speaker and communicator and also a learner. You have to understand that in order for you to comprehend and understand, you need to write more and you need to communicate more. You have to understand that writing will also help you to writing will help you to build your vocabulary and also your synonyms and antonyms, and will relate words together. You have to understand that people who study how to really do anything in terms of writing and anything in life are going to learn much better about how to do it. You have to learn that the more you write, the better you are. What are you better in? You're better in all areas of life when you're planning in your journal and you're talking about yourself more. I realized that no matter what, for the past 2 years, I've been exposing more and more of myself in my journal and posting it online for free, and I promise you that no one looks. I promise you that nobody looks at what I have to say. Although, no matter what, I don't care, because I'm still here. I realize I'm still here to give all that I can so that people can succeed more than yesterday. Because guess what? I'm succeeding more than yesterday, and I believe that you guys deserve to have my ideas because I'm successful. You have to understand that no matter what, that other people never believe that though. I never care about them. You have to understand that in your journal, you write your story. You have to understand that your story is your business and your life and your passion. And if you have somebody else's passion and somebody else's business that is more important than yourself and your story, I promise you that you have no business. I promise you that you can get started today, word for word. You can start writing word for word in your journal, and you can start to elaborate on your story more and more in your journal every single day. You are going to be explaining your story throughout your lifetime. You can never explain your story until you are right now. You have to understand, you are right now, although you have to understand your story is a journey. And you have to explain your story each and every single day about what happened and who came into your life and how did you solve a problem and how did you lead and how did you manage. You have to write it down in your journal, because even when nobody looks, I promise you that in 50 years time and when you die, I promise you that you'll never die. You understand? You'll never die, so realize that you'll never be a person who thinks about dying, because guess what? Dying is irrelevant. You have to understand what's important is growth. So your journal will help you to realize, to get you into that mode of giving out your story more and more so you can become a better person throughout time, because those people who have bigger stories and are able to speak out their story are public speakers and motivators. I promise you they're people who can communicate because they write more. You understand? Because when you plan everything, on paper and you have a journal, for example, which you can use in terms of your phone, can be a journal. I call my phone and my phones my Pokedexes because I used to watch Pokemon. I realized that I always get my Pokedex with me and I always go everywhere. And I'm like Ash Ketchum, although I'm the real life person. You understand? You have to understand that I'm a person who's going throughout life with the entrepreneurial mindset, and you have to understand that I write everything down on how that mindset is every single day and how to better it, and realize no matter what, that I speak in my own journal on how to better myself. And then no matter what, that you will never ever see a lie from me because I'm always bettering myself in my journal. So I speak out my story more and more so the world can find out about how my experiences were and what happened with me and how did I better myself and how did I overcome my challenges, is all in my journal at the moment. And how do I do it on a daily basis now is something that you need to consider reading every single day, because every single day I expose my journal more and more and how I plan everything and how I do everything. You have to understand that my journal will take at least 1 year to complete, although you understand that my journey lasts for a lifetime. You have to understand that no matter what, you still start slowly and you read bit by bit. You have to understand you lead yourself with grace and you read little by little. Anything is a middle. You have to understand. Now, those people who are really foundational in what they're saying and doing in life are the people who can write in the journal and plan throughout life. I mean, you have to plan your day. I mean, today I planned to come over here and do a photo shoot. I do a photo shoot around these kind of nice, beautiful colors behind me, because guess what? I love to model and I love to look better and I love to use backgrounds, and I have a nice, beautiful space over here with no people. And I realize it's the best time for me to do a video here for 1 hour, because guess what? Each hour that I put into my videos, I promise you I get better. I promise you I start to develop within the video. I start to grow. I start to find words to say. I start to find something more that I can give in terms of communication in a different format that I've never ever exposed before. So that is the interesting part of life, where you can really explain yourself much better. You have to understand, you need to explain yourself much better, and you need to show for it. So you need to realize that you need to expose yourself completely in your journal. What have you done, and what have you done illegally, and what have you done legally? And realize no matter what, that you just go and expose it first. And have you watched pornography, and have you had sex in the bush? You have to understand, no matter what, just go and expose it, because no matter what, let people find out. And that way, you have more attention, and you've exposed yourself, and you have no shame for it anymore, because you've exposed it. You understand? Because when you hold it back and you never expose it, and I mean, when you have a wrongdoing that you've done and you've never completed it, in terms of you've never exposed it, you'll understand that you have shame about it, and you have guilt about it, and you have shyness about it, and you have anxiety about it. So when you expose it, you'll be a less shy person. You'll be a less anxious person. You'll be a less guilty person. You'll be a less shameful person. You understand? Because those people who expose everything about themselves are never, those who never expose themselves in a journal or in life are always in secrecy. And secrecy is going to keep you at bay and never growing. So those people who expose themselves are less in secrecy. You have to understand that secrecy is going to keep you private. You need to expose yourself and go public in your domain, in what your story is. So even a baby can go and write about their story and how their story is every day. I promise you that it's the best technique in the world to teach your kids to go in a journal and to write first, and then to write about their day all day long. I mean, go and teach your kids how to write about themselves all day long, and I promise you that they're going to love themselves as they grow up, because that's what's happening with me. You understand? Because no matter what, I'll teach my kids how to do that. And you understand, no matter what, you have my referencing points and you have my journal to guide you on how to do that. You understand that no matter what, it's an English journal, although you can understand that my journals are something magnificent when you can learn from them. You understand? You have to learn from what you're doing and from what you're watching, and you have to understand, it's really, you listen to what I've said in this video, and you're just listening. You're not thinking too hard about what I'm saying. You're just letting it flow. You're letting the words flow into the mind, and you're just absorbing it with your emotions, and you're in your feelings right now. And I would love for you to take some notes also while you're watching this video, because sometimes I may spark an idea and it's going to help you to write it down and give some more value, because that's what I do when I watch my mentors. I make sure I'm always on my journal and doing something while I even watch YouTube and my mentors, because that way I multitask with information and information. I absorb it and I apply it. You have to understand that when you're a person who can journal, you can plan, you can succeed, you can become more disciplined, you can become more aware, you can expose your story more, you can be more confident, you can be a better speaker, you can better your communication skills, and that's everything. Those people who are really living life are the people who are really showing for what they're saying. I'm always better than what I say. You have to realize that you go slow throughout your communication, and realize that no matter what happens, you're always using your I intent in every single word and sentence that you say, because otherwise you're going to go and give all these benefits out without putting your I in there. You have to realize that you have to capture yourself when you're giving benefits and ideas, and you have to put your you in action and your I intent inside, because no matter what, in your journal you write always with your you, because you have to understand that the world starts with you and it ends with you. You have to understand that it starts with I and ends with I. You have to understand that the beginning and end is this moment. There is no end. You have to understand that the beginning is now, and you have to understand you are just here to live. What is the beginning? The beginning is this moment. You have to understand there is no death, because when you think about death, you'll be in the moment. You have to understand that in the moment you can never think about the death, because the death of you is really your ego trying to expose you to say to never die and be in your comfort zone, because those people who live inside the moment will never ever think about death because they're growing. I mean, they got no time to die. I mean, they got no time to feel sorrow and sorry for somebody. You understand? Because the people who can communicate, they're people who can be more conscious, they're people who can grow themselves, they're people who can write in a journal and plan something accordingly to what the day has brought for them. I mean, every day is a card. I mean, when you have your cards, I mean, the day is going to bring you some cards and you need to play it correctly in a way that is better than yesterday. I mean, you're never a correct person. You never be a correct person. You never be a person who says, I know. I never need you to know anything. I never know anything. I never know what I said in this video, because guess what? I'm still learning my communication techniques in this video, and I'm still applying it within the video. As you see me right now, I'm applying my communication. You understand? I'm applying it in a different way because it takes time to do this. Although time is everything. You have to understand that people who have time can have more of life. You have to understand, those people who have no time have no freedom. So go and find more time. Although you can find it in your journal, you can find it in your story. I promise you that the more you talk about yourself in your journal, the more you can figure out how to live a better life day to day, because each step is one day. You understand? You may live 1,000 days. I promise you that you live the first day first. I promise you can never get to the 1,000th day without living today. You understand? So be a person who can absorb the world around you today, and be a person who can only go towards the positive information of life. So be reading and make sure that you're studying, and also read in your journal. I mean, write in your journal. I mean, when you're writing, you're reading. I mean, when I'm speaking this video right now, I'm actually reading it too as I'm going along, because I have to sentence my words in a way that's going to help me to grow, because otherwise I can never repeat the same words twice. I can never repeat the same sentences twice. I can never repeat anything twice, because otherwise I've never learned and I've never grown. So the whole point is to task shift around my communication. I have to be changing approach, and I have to be doing something different that I've never done before. And it's really easy when you can communicate. I mean, when you can communicate, you can write it down. I mean, it's just word for word. I mean, stick with the first word and go from there. You have to understand that every direction is one word. I mean, one word will get you there. You understand? One word will get you into a new place. You just realize that you go and spark attention, you may get some ideas, you apply it really quickly, and you just speak it out. I mean, it's about getting ideas and speaking it out. You have to realize that's the learning style. You have to realize that's the understanding. You have to realize that's what life is about. You have to realize you grab something that's really helpful, you go and help somebody else with it with your own words. You then apply it in a different manner than that person did. You then become your own unique teacher and stylist, and a person who's a fashion designer and whatever in words, and you'll be a person who's really a somewhat of a better person in your life. You have to understand, no matter what, that when you're somewhat of a better person, you're a better person after all. You have to understand that after all means this moment. You have to understand that those people who are doing something to really elaborate much better and really never fluke it, because there's no such thing as a fluke. You have to understand that everybody has luck in their life, and everybody's going to have to explain their story once and for all. You understand? Because guess what? This moment is once and for all. I mean, you have to go and take the action. You have to realize that the action is now. You have to realize that you have your journal, you have your Pokedex. You go and use your Pokedex and realize that when you go around life, you can see yourself as Ash Ketchum, and you can realize that no matter what, you go maneuver your way throughout life. Because when you go to a new city and you're going by yourself, you have to realize that many people have families and they're walking with families. I mean, what are you going to do with those people? Because they never called you and they don't know you. So no matter what, you have to go and figure out what are you going to do in this city before you even get there. So you write in a journal first. I mean, before you get there, you understand what to do because you've planned it. I mean, before I get to Darwin, I'll explain what to do in Darwin, because guess what? I've done it for the past 1 year already. You understand? Because each and every time I make a new habit, I promise you that it leads into the future also. You have to understand that the future is now. You have to understand, although, that each time I better my habits for the long term. So every time I look for new skills, I look for new skills to better my habits now, to make sure that I can succeed in the long term far greater, to delay gratification, and to make sure that I'm a more disciplined person. So no matter what, I'm always looking for better ways to never spend my money, because I never spend money, I only invest it. I only never waste my money. I make sure that I go and invest it. I make sure that I invest my money somewhere where I can really benefit somebody to help life in terms of other aspects of life to make sure no matter what that they are succeeding and that they are leaders and that they are doing something according to communication and that they are better than yesterday. So that's the whole point of money. You have to understand the point of money is that I give you $200. I promise you, I give you $100 so that you can get inspired. I mean, how do you get inspired? I mean, I'll go put $100 on advertising so that you can see my profile for free, and then guess what? You're on your own. You understand? You're on your own, because guess what? I can give you the information, you can be inspired by me, although you have to go and do it yourself now. You understand? Because I have the knowledge over here, you have to read it yourself. You have to sit in front of the television, which is this right now, which is self-education television, which is the only education that you ever watch, and that way you can become more, because I'm giving you ideas, and that's the whole point of life. The whole point of life is do more. You understand? Do more than somebody else. I promise you that way you'll find out that in your journal you can always do more. You can always do more in your journal, and do it right now. I mean, get your journal out and start writing something about your story. And also listen to me and what I'm saying. Also just absorb the words and just never think about the words I'm saying. I mean, when you're speaking, you're never thinking about what you're saying. I used to go to Toastmasters and I used to think about what I would say on stage. I mean, I was very tense in my face and in my emotional ability. I promise you, when I was traveling the world in terms of Australia, I'm still traveling now, I realized that I've become less tense around my areas of emotional ability, because I've learned how to deal with my emotions much better. I've learned to process my emotions much better. And I used to be a drug and alcohol person, and I used to take drugs and alcohol. I used to do the ice and the marijuana, and I used to smoke cigarettes for 7 years. I used to be a mental health person, in terms of I used to go to where the mental health institutes are. And you have to understand that I was very fat, and guess what? I lacked self-esteem. And what helped me? I promise you that my journal helped me the most. I promise you that journaling is the one way that you can do everything that you can to succeed even more. You need to be a person who's really... I just need you guys to understand that I was just moved because other people have to go and do something there and make some noise. So I just moved myself. You have to understand, guys, that just be a person who can go into your journal today and start writing. I promise you, when you start writing, you start being fascinated about what your day is like. You then are going to talk about everything in your journal. I promise you everything. I promise you're going to talk about your spouse and your husband and your friends and who you hang around with, and how your day went in high school, and how your day is with your kids, and how you have to clean that stupid mess. And you have to understand that no matter what, you also write all your frustrations down in your journal, and you realize that suddenly, I mean, you can never even go negative in your journal anymore, because you've expressed yourself. And once you've expressed yourself in a negative way in your journal, I mean, you can swear as much as you can in your journal, and you realize that eventually the more you swear, the more you feel like shit. I promise you. And then you're going to say, how about I better my communication skills through my journal? And how about I try to solve my problems now with my journal, because I can write now. I mean, I can write a sentence, I can write a word. I mean, yes, I had a negative day, although, look, I fucking wrote a date today, which is the 13th of the 7th of 2020, for example. And guess what? I have a fucking whole day's worth of journaling, and I wrote 20,000 words today. I mean, that's a beautiful way, an aspect, to give some value to somebody about your life. I mean, you wrote 20,000 words about your life today. I mean, you have to understand that each and every day you do that, I promise you more and more people are going to be inspired, and you're going to get smarter throughout time. I promise you that you write 50 million words in life. I mean, you write it physically. I promise you write it inside of your electronic phone. You write it on the typewriter. I promise you that you can write with your phone and Pokedex. You can go around the world doing it in a plane, and you can do it while you're sleeping, and you can do it anytime. I mean, you can do it anytime. You understand? You have to understand that no matter what happens, that you always have your phone with you, and you write 50 million words. I promise you, you'll be a better mindset, because you've written more words. You understand? You've talked about yourself more. You've talked about life more. You have to understand, when you write 100 billion words, you're going to be a better person for it than the person who never wrote a word. I mean, you're going to be a better person than the person who never wrote a word at all. I mean, you have to understand that babies, when they come into the world, obviously they never know how to write or speak, and I never know how to write and speak either. You have to understand that I'm no better than a baby. You have to understand that I'm a baby myself, although you have to understand that I'm smarter than a baby. You understand? I'm smarter than a baby. I'm still a baby though. You have to understand that no matter what, I'm still living life. I'm still a person who's writing. I'm still a person who's journaling my video now. I mean, this is a documentary about my life. You have to understand that my life is something different. You have to understand your life is something different. You've lived a different experience than I have. I mean, everybody's lived a different lifestyle and experience in a different area of life and a different age and a different time. You have to understand that you now need to inspire those who are living up to their potential, and you need to inspire those who are not. You have to understand, you just go inspire. Inspire those people who are more successful than you, and I promise you that you'll be more successful than them. You just be a person who's keeping in touch with yourself in your journal. I mean, when you have nobody to talk to, you have your journal. I mean, your journal is there for you. I mean, Jesus is never there for you when you never learn from Jesus. I mean, when you go away from Jesus, I promise you, Jesus will never follow you. You have to go and follow Jesus. So you have to go and be his follower. You have to go and read upon him. You have to go and be curious about Jesus in order to find out about Jesus, because that way Jesus will teach you something about the Bible. I mean, that way Jesus will teach you something about God. I mean, it's a topic. You go and read it. You understand? I mean, nobody's going to be there for you when you don't even search to be their student in life. So go and be a student of somebody. You understand? I'm a student of life. I'm your student when you got something to teach me. I'll listen to you. I'll be there for you. I'll be, no matter what, I'll be there to listen to you and learn from you. You have to understand that I'm only here for something greater than myself. You have to understand that I'm only here doing something to help you for something greater. You have to understand, although I'm here for the most part for something greater, I'm never here for myself. You have to understand that I've been given this life for free. You have to understand that you go give people life for free. I mean, you give people information and love for free. I came into the world and was loved by people for free. I mean, you have to understand, I was a baby and I'm still a baby, and people were giving me money and food and TV and all of this for free. You have to understand that is the way of life. And then suddenly when you grow up, suddenly you're still a baby, you're just feeling younger. You're just never feeling older, because most people as they grow up, they're getting older and older and older and more classical. I mean, they're more of the old life because they're not into technology. Why? Because they're never planning and they're never on offense about technology and to learn it. So you have to be on offense about learning about everything, because that way you can improve your life. I promise you that I was never on defense to lose 47 kilos. I had to go and fucking learn how to improve my nutrition. You understand? I had to fucking go on Google and fucking read every fucking sentence about nutrition there is. And then the more nutrition I had in terms of knowledge, I started taking some action, and I started to remove some food from my life, and I started to self-educate myself more and more throughout time. And guess what? Now I'm an educator, because I have all the information and research about it, and then I just give it out now for free. I mean, it's become a passion now, because guess what? I'm a vegan. So I teach veganism. You have to understand that I teach what I preach. I teach what I preach and do. I teach what I do, you understand? So I never just teach what somebody else does. I teach what I do, you understand? Because I'm unique. I never teach based on research and what others have done, because there are many people who will give you research. I mean, they'll say something and they're never doing it. You understand? I mean, they'll say that goat, I promise you, they'll say that goat milk is the healthiest sort of milk. I promise you, they never even drink goat milk. You understand? Because those people are cheap and sarcastic and hypocrites. You understand? Because they never live their word. And you have to understand that goat milk is never healthy, because it comes from an animal. You have to understand that soy milk is much better, and soy milk is going to give you much more protein, and there's no lactose in it, and also it's a plant. I promise you, plants are much more remedies than animal food. You have to understand that no matter what, you be a person who never listens to people who say go for any other diet except for veganism, because veganism and people who teach veganism are better educators in terms of nutrition than those people who eat meat and do any other diets. You understand though that in your journal you may be a politic, you may be something in life. You just go and write it down about how you would solve the role. Go write down about how you would solve the world's problems. Go and write down how you would teach your kids to do this. Go and write down how you would parent somebody to lead life. Go and teach people how to lead in your journal. Go and teach people how to give value and how to build a business and how to journal yourself, and how, go and teach how in your journal. Go and teach people how to walk and how to talk and how to do anything in your journal. Just go and add some value, and I promise you over time, you're going to build upon that. I promise you, you'll be talking about communication one time, and then you'll talk about leadership, and then you'll talk about management, and then you'll talk about life, and then you'll talk about veganism, and you'll talk about dogs, and you'll talk about your mum, and you'll talk about your kids, and then you'll talk about mental health issues, and then you'll go confidence, and then you'll go negativity, and you'll talk about negativity and how negative your day was, and then you'll fucking swear in your journal so much, and then you'll say, this is all fucking negative, I hope that you never do this. I promise you, you'll say that in your journal, and then people who read it, I promise you that they're gonna say, I understand you, and then guess what? You're gonna start saying, this is how I recover now, because since this happened, I will have to solve this problem this way. You understand? Because guess what? Those people who never have a journal are always thinking. You understand? And you never think because you write it down. I never think because I have everything written down. You understand? Because there's 60,000 thoughts, apparently, that goes throughout your head every single day. And I don't know how they do that. You have to understand that no matter what, you have to understand that if that's the case, you then have to write it all down. Because otherwise, imagine what happens when you're building it up over time and you're never planning. I mean, you're going to have 50 billion thoughts around your head. You understand? Because over time, you never write it down and you never speak it out. You're just going to have thoughts running around in your mind. So your mind is never your mind. You have to realize that you go and write all the thoughts that you have from others and you write it down. And then you just give value. And you realize that I do this on a daily basis. So no matter what, I'm always planning how to live life. I'm always planning to move away from the crowd and people where there may be some distracting noise and where people say that they're going to be loud. So no matter what, that way I have a nice clear video, I'm doing something better, and I pause my video, and my Samsung allows me to pause my video. You have to understand that my iPhone before, which is even more expensive than the Samsung, never allowed me to pause my videos. You have to understand that no matter what, I have a better phone now, and I have a Samsung, and realize no matter what, I'm happier with a Samsung. You have to realize that no matter what, even an iPhone is a good phone for some aspects of life. You have to understand that you just be a person who can do something and make sure that you can afford what you have. You have to understand that what you have is what you have. So make sure that you're grateful for it, and make sure that you go and give more of what you have. And make sure that you go give more of what you have to others for free. And I promise you, you have more. I promise you have more. So what am I giving you here? I'm giving you what I have. I'm giving you my research about how I journal and how I live life and how I'm doing much better. You have to understand that when I give you this, I also benefit much more because I learned something in this video myself while teaching you. You've learned something by the ideas I've given you. I've also learned in my path and how to better myself from this point of view where I have to teach you while you have to listen, although you have to go teach someone else what I've just said. You have to realize that you never teach exactly how I taught it. You have to go and teach it in another way, in your fashion, although that's the eventual teacher. You understand? I mean, that's the road for you. You realize no matter what, I do it for something greater. You have to realize that the road in your life must be to go and teach other people to become better. You have to realize that's the only path in life. You have to realize the only path in life is to be positive. So it's either you're positive or negative. So you can never have one sip of alcohol and one drop of alcohol because that's negative. So go and have a positive feel and do something much more positive and stay away from all the drugs out there, because that way you'll be a more positive person. You'll be a more positive person. And you have to understand that there is no such thing as pharmaceutical drugs and taking a certain amount of pills to get a certain amount of vitamin D. Understand? Because there are many doctors out there who are saying that you must take these pills, and you have to understand they're saying for 5 nutrients that you need to take 30 pills. I promise you, no matter what, that you never do that because it's going to kill you. You understand? So no matter what, that's an idea. You just keep that idea, please, and make sure no matter what that you learn from it. You have to learn from it. You have to understand that in your journal, you write it down. You write everything down that I've been saying. You write down what's going on around the world. You write down about the news trends and what you think about it. You have to understand that no matter what, the news trends and what you think about it is all politics. You have to understand the world matters, and what's going on in the world is never important because that's all politics. I promise you that when you stick into the world, I promise you, you always be a hypocrite. You understand? Because hypocrites are more into the world and what's going on around the world, and they write about the world more than themselves. You have to understand that you go and write about yourself more and how to develop yourself without the world. Because guess what? For me, for example, in terms of Jesus Christ, I would only do something much greater. I will never even think about what's going on around the world because I never care about what's going on around the world. I care about what's going on inside of my world, and I care about what's going inside of me. I realize that no matter what, I stay away from the world because I care about what's going inside of me. I never care about the world. I care about what's inside of me. So what's inside of me is to give you this video and to give you some positive knowledge, because I stay away from negativity, such as the world's news and the news outside of me and the people outside of me and what they're saying, except for my mentors and people who grow me, and also my Jesus Christ. You have to understand, no matter what, that Jesus is first in my life. I'm second in terms of Jesus Christ. You have to understand, no matter what, I'm first, because no matter what, I'm first with Jesus Christ. You have to understand, no matter what, that Jesus is always number one. I'm also with Jesus. You have to understand that I follow the person who is the greatest in history, and that's Jesus Christ. And you have to understand, no matter what, I'll just pause my video for a second. You just need to realize that in your journal is fascinating. I mean, once you write a novel or anything in terms of journaling and words, I mean, let's look at a novel, for example. I mean, a novel is just the first word. I mean, what is the first word that comes into your mind? I mean, your mind is never your mind. What is the first word that comes into the mind that you have? You have to understand, the first word that comes to you is a novel. I mean, you can write something about that sentence. I mean, no matter what, a novel is a sentence. I mean, a novel is just one little word. You have to understand that a novel develops from one word. I promise you, life develops from one word. I promise you, everything in life is one step. So you have to realize that all the numbers in the world derive from one. You have to understand there is no number 2 and number 3 and number 4 when there is no number 1. You have to understand that I creates everything. So I is a creator. You have to understand that I must be your sole intent. You must be able to use your I more in your journal and your you. You have to understand that you is also I. You have to understand that you and I can ask some questions, and then we can do something together to help this world better itself. Because guess what? We need to better the world by bettering ourselves first. So we never focus on the world, we focus on ourselves, and that way through ourselves we'll better the world. You understand? You have to understand, no matter what, that you never go and chuck rubbish in the world and kill its animals and cause violence to anybody outside of you. Because guess what? There are people outside of you, and there is a world out there. You have to understand that you never go out there. You never go out there, because out there is dangerous. You have to stay inside. You have to understand that most of the politics, are out there somewhere. I mean, they're always looking at how to better the world. I mean, they're looking at how to better the grass more than themselves. You understand? I mean, who cares about the grass? I mean, the grass is complete. You have to understand, you become more complete, because the grass is already natural. I mean, Mother Nature is outside of us. You have to understand that we're living inside of our bodies. You have to understand that we're living to live greater. We're living to become a better person. You guys have to realize that you need to stay on top of what you're doing, and you need to realize that no matter what, your journal can top you off. I mean, every single day I journal, I become better and better. I'm always a better person when I'm journaling. I'm always a better person because I realize it's my nice relaxation growth technique, where I can realize that I can switch off the light and I can be inside my bed and I can be journaling all the time. I mean, I can be journaling while I'm walking, I can be journaling at the beach, I can be journaling anywhere. I can be journaling underwater. I mean, I can actually get a waterproof bag and put my journaling underwater, and I can go and scuba dive and journal. I mean, that's amazing. You have to understand that no matter what, you can do that. You can be a person who can far be greater than the world, because you can journal, you can write it down, and you can learn how to do that on your own. Because no matter what, I've done it. I'm still doing it. I'm still learning how to grow. I'm still learning how to be greater than myself. I'm still learning, because guess what? I have 2,000 years of wisdom. You have to understand, I have 2,000 years and more of wisdom. And guess what? I'm better than the person who has 1,000 years of wisdom, because I've done more. You have to understand that I have all this experience. You understand? I have all this experience, and that's a lifetime of knowledge. You have to understand. And because I've taught more and more, and each and every video that I've taught and spoke and shown my face, I've done it in a different way, and that's all adding together. I mean, each and every time it's getting bigger. You have to understand, no matter what, the bigger I make this wisdom of mine, I mean, it's like a bubble getting bigger. And you have to understand, the bigger your wisdom, you have to understand that nobody else can damage you, because you built a house of bricks. I mean, each and every time, and each and every video, and each and every journal that you finish off, and each and every word that you write, you have to understand, is more in terms of how much more confidence you have. So to give more wisdom, such as this video, because it's all wisdom, you have to understand, it's all knowledge. And the more you write about your story, which is also wisdom about your experience, and it's called self-evaluated knowledge, as John C. Maxwell says. And he says, no matter what, that you go and self-evaluate more and more about your life. And that's what I do on a daily basis in my journal, and in these videos, I self-evaluate my techniques. in a different way all the time. So as Gary Vaynerchuk says, you go and make a business about yourself, and you talk about yourself in a different way as much as you can. And that's your business. I promise you that your business is just talk about something that you're passionate about and be passionate about yourself as number one. You have to understand that you need to be passionate about something greater than yourself, so go and be something greater. You understand? Be something greater and inspire the world, because if you're waking up and you're dreading life, I promise you that means you're never really living. I'm waking up, I'm inspired for my day. I'm ready to tackle the day. I'm ready to be on offense about the day. I mean, I'm ready to go to brand myself somewhere. I'm ready to go and eat somewhere. I'm ready to plan my day. I'm ready to do these life coaching videos. I'm ready to show up. I'm ready to be happier. I'm ready to do much better. I'm ready to show people on Instagram how much I love them, and I'll fucking like 1,000 times, because guess what? I never fucking expect them to like me. I'll fucking give them money too. I'll fucking make sure no matter what that everybody's happier, because guess what? I'm happier, because that's inspiration. You understand? Because I make people happier because I'm happier. I'm happier because I make myself happier every single day to be more inspired daily. And I wake up because I have no 9-to-5 job. I can travel. I have time freedom. I have the money. I have better habits than yesterday. I'm looking better than yesterday. And that's inspirational, and that gets me up every single morning. You have to understand that I used to dread life. I used to be a person who had 47 kilos. I used to be a former schizophrenic. I'm still a former schizophrenic. I used to be a schizophrenic. You understand? I'm a schizophrenic now. I'm never a schizophrenic. You have to understand that I'm a former schizophrenic. You have to understand that a schizophrenia person is a mentally healthy in terms of never healthy. I mean, a schizophrenia person is an unhealthy person. So guess what? I manage, no matter what, that you realize that you never get confused about your words, and you teach what everything is. You have to understand a schizophrenic person hallucinates and is delusional. I was schizophrenic. I used to believe that I was getting attacked by people and that everybody was against me, and I was going to attack people, and I seen dead people. I seen my grandmother. I seen my grandmother who passed away. I seen her sitting down. I was very much more hallucinating before. You have to understand that no matter what, I'm now, I'm never the past, although you have to realize that it was a very scary moment, because when I was schizophrenic and I was losing it and I was having no mentally healthy skills where I can help myself to succeed and where I can help myself to build better habits, I realized no matter what that I started to read. I started to read daily, and I started to coach myself much more around reading. And because I started to read, I started to develop much more trust in knowledge, and to trust knowledge that it will get me there. And guess what? Knowledge did, because guess what? I picked up the knowledge and I started to teach it. And I started to teach it before anybody else in my community. I realize now I've skyrocketed so much that I look much better than yesterday. And because before I was 47 kilos and a schizophrenic, I was very, let's say, defensive about everything. I was always on the defense. I was always on the defense about making money and being with everything. And I was never attacking the day. I mean, you have to be able to tackle the day. You never attack people, you tackle the day ahead of you. You tackle the day. You understand? Because those people who tackle the day, they're able to be on offense. I mean, you need to be on offense about technology in order to learn it. You cannot be on defense, because when you're on defense, you're never going to pick up the technology and learn it. So be on the offense about knowledge and what I've said over here, and challenge me, please. Please, I say please to challenge me and to challenge everybody about their thoughts and what they have, because otherwise you're never questioning everything. You have to understand that when you're given anything, you challenge it every time, because otherwise somebody can sneak a little cockroach into you and you can believe a myth. And when you believe myths like I did, I was led astray, and I was a person who went into drugs. I was a person who went into very bad behaviors, and guess what? I had bad habits and I had poor habits. And now, since I've tackled all of that, I realized that I started to condition my mindset to become better. And now the mindset is different than the mind and the ego. You have to understand that my mindset is really the wisdom that I give out. I give out so much wisdom because I'm fueled with wisdom every single day. And my wisdom, which can start off with just a small bit of wisdom, can develop everything. You have to understand, a little bit of wisdom developed, and you speak about it over and over in a different way. You have to understand that it connects the dots, and you understand how much momentum you can have over time when you're building more wisdom and you're talking more and more over time. I promise you that talking more and more means connecting more and more. So who are you connecting with? You're connecting with yourself the most. I mean, you never connect with others. I mean, you go and connect with yourself the most, because all you need is yourself, and all you need is a journal to speak on a daily basis. So if you were like me, I promise you, if you're a person who was like me, where I had to call people to have friends, I promise you, and I was lonely and I had nobody and nobody was calling me, and I was wishing for somebody I was wishing for somebody to call me because I had so much depression. You understand? So you understand that I was that type of person, and if you are that type of person, please pick up your journal now and make sure that no matter what, that all of you do that right now and start to write about your story and start to overcome your depression and start to solve your depression and how to solve it. You have to understand that in order for you to be a coach on how to overcome depression, and you can be a depression coach. You understand? So if you have depression now and you overcome it, then you can realize that you never need a certificate in order for you to teach how to overcome depression. You can go and start being a coach for that right now, and you can make that your business, and you can make that your real attitude towards life. You can realize that you can fall into the mental health industry, and you can realize to start building confidence, and also as you're building confidence, you're teaching others to build confidence, and you're teaching people to overcome depression and drugs and alcohol, and you're teaching them to never go to rehab and what rehab is, and you're really educating people about life and what's inside. I realize then you become a more spiritual teacher, and you realize that now it's about life and how to maneuver throughout life, and then you go and teach that also, and then you teach people how to travel also, and that's what I do also. You have to understand, I teach everything about life. I teach everything because I'm so enthusiastic to stand up in the morning and to teach a video, because now I have more skills to be able to teach, because I've been practicing in my journal. I've been preparing, as Brian Tracy says, no matter what. I've been preparing that no matter what, you can be a person who is far greater. You realize that Brian Tracy says that in life, you're always preparing for something. You're preparing. So in the next 20 years, you may write in your journal and do these videos. I promise you, in the 21st year, you may get some gigs around the world to go and public speak somewhere. So no matter what, you just keep going, because otherwise, if you don't create your own opportunity, I promise you nobody else will create it for you. I promise you that if you're not doing these videos and you're not teaching life and you're not teaching how to overcome something in life, and you're not teaching what adversity is, and you're not teaching how you struggled, and you're not talking about your story, I promise you nobody else is going to talk for you. I promise you nobody else is going to explain your story. I promise you nobody else cares about you. You understand? Because nobody else cares about me except Jesus. Because guess what? When I go towards Jesus, I promise you Jesus cares about me. You understand? Because guess what? When you go towards me, I promise you I care about you when you're coming to me and you're being a student of mine. I promise you I care about you when you're coming into this video to listen to what I have to say, because I'm doing it. And because you're here, I care. But when you're going somewhere else, I don't care. You understand? And the same goes with Jesus. You have to understand that when I go away from Jesus, I promise you Jesus doesn't care either. You understand? Because when I go towards Jesus, I promise you Jesus is always there loving me in life. You have to realize that those people you are interested in have to be more inspirational. You go towards the more inspirational people and you learn from them. You then will become that kind of inspiration, and then you lead from that point. You grab the torch and you start to teach people. You understand? Because life is about maneuvering, and you have to maneuver around in your journal. You have to maneuver around your words. You have to realize to communicate better than you did, and it's really easy once you get going. You have to realize that these videos are much easier for me to do now than when I started, because guess what? When I started, I was very slow. I was very slow because my mindset was very slow. I never taught anything. I didn't know how to teach. I didn't know, although I started slowly, and I started to use my notes. And you can check my how-to series in my course 1, where I speak about how to be positive. You understand, no matter what, I had a nice screen going, and I was reading and I was teaching. You understand? Because that's how I learned at first. And no matter what, then I started to develop 1-minute videos, and I said, stuff the notes, because I have to develop to teach 1-minute videos first, and then combine them together and make a 3-hour video from all these 1-minute videos. And then I started to really develop, and then within a year I started to do 4-hour videos easily. So you have to realize that it's going to take time, although you understand how much I've improved. You understand, once you see my results, you understand that it works. You understand that what I have to say has to work, because it works for me. You understand? It works for, you have to understand that it works for me for something greater. I'm only doing it for something greater. I'm not doing it for my pleasures. You have to understand, I always mention Jesus. I promise you, I always mention Jesus and something greater, because it helps me to focus on something more than myself. Because otherwise, when I'm focused too much on myself and never on something greater, I start to get selfish and I start to die. So no matter what, I mean that, and I realize that I have to focus on something greater, because I have to be more inspired than I am today, and I can never just focus on who I am today. I have to focus on something greater than me, so that I can become greater than the person I am. So that way, I go into my journal, I realize I start to really elaborate on it, and I start to really dig into it, and I start to say, this guy is annoying, and guess what, he's annoying because of this. And I realize no matter what, I never have to be annoyed. And I realize that he's getting to me, although I realize something now, I'll just remove these type of people in my life and I'll never be annoyed. And that way, I'll never ever go towards that person anymore, and realize I will be a better person for it. And I make the discipline to never go around that person ever again. I mean, I'll leave the hostel, I'll leave that person, I'll never go around that person ever again. I that way improve myself, I improve my mindset, I become happier. I stay away from my biological dad, for example, because my biological dad has so many bad habits that he, let's say, tries to really dig it into me, and he tries to kick me down. And guess what, I've taken control back, I've took control back, and I've realized that his persona has gone. I mean, his persona is leaving me every single day because I was so attached to him, I was so dependent on him, I was so much of a person that was always calling him for something. I used to call him to come and drive to the house to get me cigarettes because he was 1 hour away and I needed cigarettes. I was a person who was really craving it, and then he would come and give me 3 cigarettes because he had no money. You understand? So he would come and drive 1 hour to give me 3 cigarettes. I mean, that's the kind of person I was. You have to understand that for the next 24 hours, I never had cigarettes. You have to understand, no matter what, that how bad I was. I was very bad. I had no money. I had a bad mindset. I had a person that was really, let's say, helping me in life. I had my biological dad. I still have him today. And you have to be grateful for what you have, because when they pass away, you understand what you missed out on. You have to understand that you never missed out on anything, although you understand what you had. You have to understand that you have something greater today, and when your parents pass away, you write about it, and you write about how to overcome it also. You overcome your challenges, you overcome... I've already planned that when my parents die and my family dies and when I die, I've already planned how I'll die. I said that no matter what, when I die, I said I'll get cremated, which is I'll get burnt into ashes, and I'll make sure that my family goes into Byron Bay, which is right here in the ocean, and I'll make sure to help them, and I'll make sure to just say that they throw me into the ocean with my ashes. I promise you that they just empty my ashes into the ocean somewhere. I need my family to go walk into the ocean as they do it, because no matter what, I need to go swim with the whales and also the dolphins and the sharks and all the oceans, because guess what? This is the theory behind it, because no matter what, I feel that my graveyard is the ocean, and I need to be moving with something. I need to be moving. I never need to be still and in the ground and in 1 2x2 ground with whatever. You have to understand that I never need a cemetery and to be around other people. I need to be swimming with the fishes because I'm a vegan. You know, you understand that you have to understand that the water is always moving. So I need to be moving also. I never need to be standing still in one spot forever. I need to be moving from Byron Bay. I need to go Gold Coast. I need to go to Africa. I need to go and still travel, and I still need to read self-education inside my ocean also once I'm in the afterworld. You have to understand the afterworld is now, although you have to understand that no matter what happens, that you just be a person who can realize to do your... I was just interrupted, guys, so no matter what, just realize that you get back on topic and that you start talking about what you're doing and how you live life. You have to understand that in my journal, I just speak about so many aspects of life where I can really help develop other people in my journal. So I make sure to add value. I make sure to be a person who's always doing something according to interest. I make sure to always make sure that I'm never afraid. I'm never afraid of anything, because guess what? Your ego is the one that's afraid. I was just interrupted again by noise and kids and people who are just screaming around me. You have to understand, no matter what, guys, that your journal is important. So those people who add value are doing business, and they're always managing to do better because they're planning everything ahead. They're people who really have what it takes to succeed because they're on the offense about writing. So those people who really learn how to communicate, such as I, are really ones who can develop, and I promise you, and the ones who can go into their journal and write more. So I've just been able to write more, and that's all that it took for me to be able to be on video and to be able to be a model and to be able to be so successful, because I've planned how to do my schedule every single day. I plan how to improve my habits and how to learn and how to grow and how to be around people and what to do ahead of time and what to say ahead of time and where to be ahead of time. You have to understand that when I'm around people, I also make sure no matter what that I planned it beforehand and what I'll say. You have to understand that you have to coach yourself on how to speak. You have to coach yourself on how to do. You have to coach yourself everything. You have to coach yourself on where to go and how to do it. You have to understand that you can do it and nobody else can do it for you. You now realize that in your journal, you have your ability to really impact people. I promise you that when you impact people, you will be a person who's far inspiring the world, and you're being a greater person for it. You're being a person who can actually inspire. You're being a person who can motivate. You're being a person who has what it takes. I'm rich or better. You have to realize that no matter what, I'm rich or better means that I'm clearing out any forgiveness and any hatred that I have, because guess what? It's about forgiveness, although I'm clearing out anything that's negative from myself. So I say I'm rich or better. You have to understand that I add that all better at the end because I am taught by I'm taught by myself the most in terms of life, although it's really that I'm taught by Jesus the most. I realize that no matter what, that I am a person who gets taught the most by Jesus, although I learned from Jack Canfield and he taught me to say I'm rich or better, to remove any hatred from my life. And that way, I am a person always stating, affirming, and I'm always stating and affirming positive material in my life. And I'm writing more and more, and I'm doing something and everything in my videos that's everything going to be better. I mean, it's everything that's going to be better. I'm always talking and speaking in a way that it's going to be better for myself in terms of Jesus Christ, that I make sure that I'm making a better way to communicate. I'm always learning how to do that. I'm always learning how to really be on camera, and also I'm learning how to do something appropriate much better. I'm always looking for a nicer way. I'm always looking for something that's always going to help me to succeed, and I'm always speaking my heart about it. So I'm holding nothing back right now, and I'm never right nor wrong, although in my journal I solve how to be more spiritual. I solve how to do any topic in the world, and I can do it anytime. So I pick up my phone and I start journaling right now about people and what they're doing, and I journal about everything around the world, and I make sure no matter what, I'm just journaling something. I just journal something down that's going to help me learn and grow. And that's really, really what's happening inside of me. So what's happening inside of me is never the outside world. I realize it's only what's coming out from me in terms of what words am I speaking and how am I looking, and then what are my habits and what am I reading today that's going to help me, and I realize, and what am I doing with my technology and finances, and where is it going? So I'm always foundational in the way I speak, because I've practiced and practiced and practiced in my journal and off camera. You have to understand that off camera I practice daily, and I write quotes, and I'm doing something around video work, and you have to understand that this is my work and this is what I do, and eventually I put another 10,000 hours in. I promise you I'll get more mature, and I'll never look older. I'll always look younger, because the whole point of living is to increase your disciplines over time, and that way you're going to increase responsibility. So responsibility is disciplines. So you have to understand, the more disciplines you have, the more responsibility you have. So you have to understand that accountability is really responsibility. So when you're increasing your disciplines, you're also increasing your accountability. You understand that the more disciplines you have, the more motivation you have to succeed. And the more motivation you have, the more momentum you've built because of your disciplines. You then will realize that the more motivation you have, the more consistency you have, because guess what? Your discipline and the more you're dedicated to grow is going to be your way of saying that you're consistent and you're driven, and you're also determined to live life greater than you are. And you need dedication for that. You need to realize that dedication is 100% of the story. You have to understand that no matter what, you be more than 100%, and make sure that you dedicate yourself to everything, and make sure that you dedicate yourself to learning and growing. That way you realize that it's really your journal that's going to help you to unlock all those abilities that you have. And you have so many abilities right now. You were born with abilities. All you have to be realizing is you just have to be taught by yourself how to do it. You have to understand that no matter what, that nobody taught Djokovic how to be number one in tennis. You have to understand that in my life, I put Jesus as number one. So you have to realize that nobody's going to teach you how to do anything in life. You need to go and teach yourself. I need to teach myself how to live life every day. I promise you that nobody's going to tell me where to go from this point. I realize that from this point I have to go to the hostel because it's getting cold. You have to realize that I'm a person that goes to my accommodation before 6 p.m. every single day, because that way I live a better life and I get less sick. You have to understand that in winter I'm always throughout all the season. I'm always throughout all the seasons in my life, and every single day I'm in accommodation before 6 p.m. because at night time there are people who are night stalkers and egotistical people and poisonous people, and there are criminals, and there are also people who are thieves. And you have to understand that it's getting cold after 6 p.m. and realize that when you're indoors and you have accommodation and you have also, let's say, more privacy, you can do more work for yourself, you'll be more productive, and you'll be peaceful, you'll be safer than sorry, and you'll also be a person progressing in some area of your life because you'll be journaling, you'll be doing some video work, you'll be doing some marketing, you'll be doing value giving in terms of something that you're doing. You'll also be doing value adds, as Grant Cardone says, which is the same as giving value. And also you'll realize no matter what, that you need to be a person such as that nature who's going inside after 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. You have to understand, from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. you must be indoors, and that way you're going to get less sick. So over time, as you age, you have to be doing that more and more, because otherwise the storm is going to hit you. So then you'll realize that when you're inside, you're going to be healthier than being outdoors. You understand? Because outdoors, and being outdoors all night long and then all morning long, I mean, you be outdoors all day long, I mean, you'll be sleeping on the grass. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to get unhealthy. So you have to realize that you stay indoors more than you go outdoors. And you have to understand that indoors and you're inside your house and your accommodation is much more worth it than being outdoors. You have to understand that overall, you have to realize that from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I can go outdoors. I then realize that after 6 p.m. I must be indoors. I must be indoors, otherwise I get sick. I start to catch a disease. I start to get negative because I have negative people around me. And I never have negative people around me. I'm a person who realizes that when you go around negative people, you start to realize that you start to talk negative about yourself. So never be around them, and make sure that you're never affected by people. So make sure you're never affected by the coldness. Right now, I'm not cold. I'm a person who's warm. I'm always warmer. I'm always going to warmer climates, because guess what? In Darwin, in winter, is always summer. So I have to go to summer. I have to go realize that no matter what, it's more important for me to be healthier in life than anything else. So realize that you just build your potential in your journal and start to write daily, because guess what? Nobody wrote the Harry Potter. Nobody wrote Harry Potter books other than J.K. Rowling. You understand? Because she went and done that. You understand? Because she was the one who wrote the book, and nobody else done that for her. And you have to understand that she was a person who was on the allowance of the government while she was doing it. And guess what? She made a beautiful film, and she's making series of books related to the film, and she's getting better as a director of the film and how it's going. You have to understand that no matter what happens, that you be a person of that nature who can go and write a book, but you have to realize that your book is your story. You have to realize that your movie is your story. You realize that your movie is never Harry Potter. You have to understand that your movie is something to do with your life and how you experience life growing up. You have to go and teach people that. You have to go and teach people how you overcame that. You have to teach people how you overcame to live up to your age now. And what are you doing today to help you live? What are you doing today to help yourself live longer and to be a peak performer much more, and to be more into the personal development side, and to be more of an educator, and teach people how you succeeded in some areas of your life, and start to elaborate on that more and more. Start to talk about what makes you happier, and I promise you, you do it with yourself, and you never need anybody else. You never need me, you never need anybody. You just need yourself, and you just need something greater than you. You need something greater than you more than you in life. So always look to something greater, and always be doing something greater than you are today. I promise you, that way you can be a better person, you can be writing in your journal, and you can learn how to journal more when you're doing it word for word. You have to understand that when Arnold Schwarzenegger says that in order for him to have those muscles as he was 21, you have to understand no matter what, that he was a big person in terms of physique, and you have to understand that no matter what, that in order for him to achieve that, he said, I had to do reps, I had to do each rep, you understand? And he said each and every time I did one rep of the iron, I realized that he was saying this. I realized he was saying that I felt that I was winning something. You understand? Because each and every word that you write, you have to feel that you're a winner. You have to feel like you're a winner every single day. So make yourself a winner and be offense about be on offense about winning. So every single day, I'm always on offense about this video because I have to give you the best information on the planet so that I can give the best performance in my journal and in my life and in my Instagram, and to make myself look, I have to make myself look the best, and I have to be on offense about that. I have to learn how to do that. So I have to teach myself how to do that. I have to teach myself how to communicate. I have to teach myself how to be on camera, and nobody else is going to teach me. I promise you, nobody else is going to teach me how to kick a ball, and nobody else is going to, they're going to kick a ball. I promise you, they'll never teach you how to kick it, because that's your job. Your job is to take responsibility to learn how to kick a ball. I promise you, nobody taught Cristiano Ronaldo how to score all those goals, because only Cristiano Ronaldo can do that. You understand? Only Cristiano Ronaldo can go around the world scoring goals in every single match. You have to understand that no matter what, anybody can do it. I promise you, anybody can do it. Although you understand that nobody else has done it like Cristiano Ronaldo has in the soccer realm. You understand? Because Cristiano Ronaldo is unique. You have to understand. You go and be unique. You just never be Cristiano Ronaldo. You go and be yourself. You go be totally in yourself. You go be into yourself. You make your passion you. You make your passion writing in your journal. You make your passion something that's really going to collide with a better way. You're always living a better way. You're teaching a better way, and you're happier for it. You're never proud. Also, you have to understand that proudness is really another word to say that you're proud. You can say I am proud because you have the I in the I am. You have to understand that I am is everything. You have to understand that I am is everything. You have to realize that you now realize you possess a journal. You possess Pokedexes in your life. You have technology. You have to realize that you can get a $100 phone, you can get a $50 phone, you can get some textbooks, you can get an exercise book, and you can start writing now on how to better your communication skills, and you can just start writing your story. You have to realize that your story must be written. You have to write your story, and I promise you, your dad and your mum and your brother and your sister and your family is never going to do it for you. I promise you, nobody done it for me. I promise you, I have a Mega Drive and I'm uploading all these photos. I promise you, it's just me in the world. I promise you, just me and Jesus. I promise you, I realize I just have Jesus in life. You understand? Because I follow Jesus, and when I follow Jesus, I follow the greater good. And because nobody else do I have in my life except Jesus, I realize that when I pass away, I never even think about that. I realize no matter what, I'm still living. Because you understand that this moment lasts forever. And when I pass away, I'm still living. You have to understand that I'm always living, and there's no dying in my life. You understand? Because I never think about dying. I realize I overcome death because there is no dying, because Jesus said so. You understand that Jesus says that there is eternity in life. There is a God. There is an afterworld. There is somewhere that we're going to go live. Our soul is going to be risen from the grave. You understand? As soon as you die, you're risen 3 days later. So no matter what, that's the good news. And I believe in that. You understand? Because I believe that once I die, that I will have more life. You understand? I have more life in that. You understand? I love to believe that. I don't know about those people who never believe in that. You understand? Because that makes me much greater. I promise you, it makes me much greater to believe in myself that I will live in eternity, and that I have a God such as that to even come and say that for me. Understand? So no matter what, guys, just live your life and be a person who is really succeeding, and have a journal, and make sure no matter what, you take it with you, and take it on the bus with you, and take it on road trips with you, and go with yourself everywhere with it, and make sure no matter what, you teach yourself everything in it and how to do everything, because that way you'll teach everybody else. I now will say, no matter what, that you go and share this video around go and share this video around and post it on social media somewhere, and just share it to somebody who needs it, please. And that way you're doing it for something greater than me. I'll see you guys in the next video.